It's the morning of day 3. 12 strangers have been living together in this isolated house in the Lake District, aware that they're taking part in a psychology program, but unaware that they're surrounded by 15 hidden cameras. Psychologists Phil Zimbardo and Mark McDermott have been analysing their behaviour, watching their every move on banks of monitors. On day 1, we watched them forming first impressions of each other and bond as a group of 12. But on day 2, we divided them into teams and watched rivalries develop. Last night, the A team humiliated the B team with a menial forfeit. This morning, we're raising the stakes. We'll announce a winning team at the end of the day, and during the day, we're going to watch what happens when one group of people is given power over another.
I want this clear, very clear. The A's are in charge. So that means that inside the house and outside the house, the A's are completely in charge of what happens.
What are we doing?
We'll make the decision. We don't want you to make any decisions today, that's our job.
Immediately, the A's, wearing red, have a dilemma. Yesterday, the B's washed up all day. Today, it should be the A team's turn, but now they're in charge, they decide to have a rethink in private.
If I'm managing this situation now, I would have them to do the dishes, they would go and do the dishes, and they'd even sort out that, and we'd go and take a chill and let's discuss the rest of the day.
Is that your decision?
That's my decision.
Okay, what about you, mate? What do you reckon?
That's my decision, that's what I would do as a manager.
The situation that we're put in, you know, there were 12 of us and we were all living in each other's pockets, and then the situation just took over and we kind of adopted those roles that we were given, and some people adopted them more than the others.
When the red team were given the management role, Caroline did like a Jekyll and Hyde. She just turned just like that. She was become really domineering and sort of overpowering and wanted to sort of make us the downtrodden, if you like. She was really sort of revelling in the leadership role.
May not even need all of you to tell them.
You remember when we first met Caroline in the opening scene, she came in, she sat down, she was very pleasant, cordial, but really faded into the woodwork, had very little to say. People didn't respond to her very much, but now she is suddenly a dominant figure.
Caroline was the first to arrive at our human zoo. She's 33, married with 2 children, and owns a hairdressing salon. On her application form, she described herself as a remarkable person. To start with, she was unremarkable.
There really is too many chiefs and not enough Indians. And not enough people are prepared to just stand back and relax for 5 minutes and let somebody else take charge.
Until the evening of day 2, when she had her first taste of power, and the remarkable Caroline started to emerge.
That was the highlight of my couple of days, the winning and getting them to clean my boots. That was really good.
And it's going to make you see.
Caroline is not only who she first seemed to be. She now shows herself to be capable of other kinds of behaviour too, given the right context, the right situation.
Right. Now that she's given that power, we see another side of her emerging.
You've all got a blue hat. We don't have to wear it. You don't have to wear it. It's advisable to take it. You don't have to wear it, all right? I'll give that.
It's 9 a.m. on day 3. The A team are in charge, and Caroline's in her element.
So here's Caroline imposing yet another kind of control, telling the Blues that they have to wear their caps.
When Caroline walked in the room and said, you know, we're managers now, basically, we don't wash up, you go and wash up. My initial reaction was, toss her, basically.
Her eyes were sort of glaring, you know, we'll make them do the washing up.
Do you notice that certain members of the management have a lovely, great big smirk on their face?
Oh, definitely.
Caroline not only has become dominant, she's the only one who comes in to oversee them, to be sure that they're doing their job. It's kind of like seeing the slaves in the field. It's one thing to know they're out there, it's another thing to be there overseeing them. So Caroline's taking a special delight in the power she has to control behavior, and she's now seeing it in action and saying, I give an order and they're following it.
Right, we've not got very long.
What are you going to do if someone has a tantrum and needs to do it? How are you going to deal with that as a management?
Throw them over the mountain.
I see it every day at work. I see people that have worked alongside me on the shop floor and they've been promoted, and they've just changed, you know, just like that.
The Reds are going to have to justify what was really an unfair decision, given that the Blues cleaned up. They could have said, well, we'll help you, or we'll all do it together, which would have been the most reasonable thing.
If we're thinking fair, then we're not doing our job
properly.
Whether you like it or not, you've got to take control when you're making a management decision. It isn't nice, but you've got to take control, haven't you? Somebody's got to be the bad guy, innit? And I can handle being the bad guy. I'm happy at the top end of the scale. I'm happy at the bottom end of the scale. If I'd sooner be at the top.
Seek higher, seek higher, seek higher.
Once you get to the top, you really haven't got time to be doing all the trivial little jobs. Anyway, people at the top, they don't have time to do all the trivial jobs.
Caroline seems to have taken to her managerial role like a duck to water. But the B team have adopted their role as subordinates just as readily.
Ahmed, can you sort out a spokesperson for your group and let us know? There he is.
Are you the spokesperson now then?
I'm the union leader.
Right,
but I'll be back. I gotta get ready. If that's okay with you, sir.
That's fine. Go get on your
For now, the B team are obeying the A team, and the A team are obeying the rules of our human zoo. Obedience seems to come naturally. This is Caroline from our human zoo, aged 4. Her parents say she was an obedient child. Now she's 33, and in our human zoo, her respect for authority is absolute. But respect for her is dwindling. In part 2, it's war. In our human zoo, we've started to see the A team follow Caroline's lead in managing the bees. But we haven't told any of them how to go about it. All we've done is put them in charge. They're interpreting that in their own way. And it's becoming abundantly clear what being in charge means to Caroline.
Right, I've got your brief for you this morning.
It's 11 o'clock, and we've told the A team to make the B team, who are disgruntled, build an outdoor shelter. But we've also told them not to lift a finger themselves and to insist on keeping to a tough deadline. It's a manager's nightmare. As Richard, who seems to have become Caroline's right-hand man, leads the bees down to the lake, the question is, how will the A team handle things?
Your task today here is to build a freestanding building out of all this material with the rope, and you have 90 minutes to do that. We're not actually allowed to handle any of the equipment, so we're going to be telling you how to set it up, how we would like it to be set up, and how you're going to attach all the equipment together.
Well, seeing how as you guys can't touch this stuff and we're going to be doing the entire construction, we thought maybe it might be an act of goodwill to say that, you know, maybe you guys can do the washing up this afternoon just as a request.
Well, we'll decide on that.
We'll
decide. We have some dissension in the ranks already.
We're not at the present time of mind. We've got 90 minutes. We're not here to discuss regarding about today's dinner.
We've crossed the washing up another time.
Ahmed is actually trying to get them to redefine their role as managers. He's essentially saying, well, good managers would provide incentives, or good managers would negotiate with the workers, saying, if you do this, then this is what you get back. And they say, no, just do it, and then we'll talk later.
If we've got something to say, can we say it one at a time?
Yes, I think that's a good
Because we can't
idea.
hear everyone shouting all the time. Now, we've got this task to complete. We want to get on with it. We want to get it done. We can discuss all goody-goodies.
I don't think we're so motivated until maybe we get a little act of goodwill from management. I don't think we've been treated well so far.
It seems like they have something that they really need for us to do, so we can use that sort of as leverage to kind of say, you know, we didn't appreciate how you treated us this morning. I think that if you're going to be our managers for the entire day, maybe if you change your attitude a little bit, we'll be a little bit more willing to help you get whatever it is you need done.
Can we just get on with it now? Let's all enjoy ourselves.
But Caroline takes a different view.
Oh, I thought they were pathetic, absolutely pathetic. There was no need for them to... But they couldn't see through, you know, they couldn't see further than the noses what they were supposed to be doing.
I think, can I just say something? I think you lot need to adopt a nicer manner approach. The way you speak to us, it needs to change, because if you speak to people in a certain way, they're not going to do things. It's not what you do, it's the way you do it. And speak to us with a bit more respect, and as we do to you. Thank you.
Well, that's great, but we're not here to discuss what we're here to discuss the construction. I do enjoy managing. I do enjoy managing. There's no doubt about it. I don't mind, you know, telling people what to do, but I wouldn't do it in a horrible way. And we're not here to discuss how we're talking to you. We're here to.
It matters. It all matters.
It
all
does.
matters.
I think what we're trying to say is why
The managers are trying to get over to the workers that we're doing what we are told, so therefore you also should do as you are told. And of course, doing as we are told, as we've learned from the cradle right up to now, is what we should be doing.
Even managers have managers. We have been told we have got to do this, so we are trying to enforce it.
Do something.
Our task is to try to help. You build this. We are not allowed to give you
arguing over why we should be building.
The A team was giving the orders out to the B team, but the A team were being given orders by everyone who was making the programme.
Hello, you can't make us physically do it.
All right, do you want to do the task?
Hang on a second. We can go get some tea and...
Quiet! Can we just please hear the rules?
Right, the rules are, during the construction period, you must comply with the following union regulations. This...
That's nothing to do with them.
We've explained everything. We don't actually know ourselves.
Your task is to supervise.
We're not allowed to see this. Your task. Right, your task. Let's discuss your task.
Oh, you're so organised, you managers. I love it.
You have to build a construction now that is in height 5 foot minimum.
I thought, you know, as a manager, she'd just be the nice type who would just say, you know, let's do things together, you know, I really appreciate your help, things like that. But instead, she was kind of like this cutthroat dictator that was just like, do this, don't argue.
In height, 5 foot minimum. So would you like to go and look at the wood that we've provided you with? That's what we'd like you to do. Look at the wood. 5 foot minimum the construction's got to be.
We'll discuss this after it's all done. We're just going to discuss it now.
Right, you're 20 minutes out.
I guess we're not getting the project
take time out and start building this. You're 20 minutes gone.
After 20 minutes of screaming and shouting, Caroline gets her way. The B team cave in.
Let's just get the thing up and go home.
I mean, I'm definitely going to do it. We should definitely go back.
And finally, nearly 2 hours later, a shelter of sorts is assembled.
Okay, so George, you want to take that corner?
Everybody.
1, 2, 3.
You gotta go.
Look at that, it's standing.
Who's standing?
Caroline and her A team colleagues may have been unfair, but the B team ultimately did as they were told. People accept even unjust authority. Neither group's happy, not the downtrodden Bs nor the powerful As. But the spirit of the Bs is about to improve considerably. In part 3, revenge. In our human zoo, Caroline's continuing to insist on obedience from everyone, both the B team and her own team.
Nobody likes to particularly give orders and instructions, but you've got to give orders and instructions to get the job done. Right!
This is the way she's interpreting her role as manager. In her mind, what's the point of power if you don't exercise it by making sure your subordinates obey?
Underneath!
But what does this approach lead to? The desire to get even. That's what the B team are feeling in our human zoo. And they blame the A team's mismanagement, mistreatment and injustice on Caroline.
She is really...
How hungry?
No, you can see what she's like, it's coming out. Her voice gets higher and higher and squeakier and squeakier. It's just...
It gets more and more personal as the day wears on.
She's so fucking anal.
Are we allowed wine?
Do you know what she needs? A good fucking poke up the arse. That would sort her out good and proper, wouldn't it? She's so only retentive. I'm surprised she hasn't sucked up the whole fucking house. Please, God, save me!
Finally, an opportunity for sweet revenge.
2 lamb casseroles.
2 lamb casseroles.
Okay, so we can put like 3 pieces of lamb in theirs and the rest of it in ours.
So you're making 1 casserole for group A, and using the flavourings that are provided.
Okay, ready?
A gift from the gods. A chance to get one back on their arch rivals. So what will they do?
To be honest with you, I really don't give a damn if they're cooking our dinner or not, because I know that at the end of the day, they're not going to be doing anything to our food, because they'll be cooking food for themselves too.
We could definitely fuck them over on this one.
Oh yeah, we can super spice it up.
Okay guys, this is the deal, right? Blue casserole, red casserole. Lamb, vegetables, spices.
Tabasco.
We can put whatever we want for the blue team and whatever we want for the red team.
I'm worried about them cooking me dinner.
Anything could happen.
I don't have any trust in them to cook my dinner without feeling, because I think a lot of them feel quite bitter.
Yeah. We're gonna give them the shittiest celery-filled, fat-ass meat lamb casserole.
It's gonna taste nice. But it's just me full of shit.
This time, there was an advantage to doing the work because we could make ourselves this grand meal. We have Sean, who's a pretty good cook, so she made us a nice meal and made them a not so nice meal, put it that way.
I just thought it was hysterical because it was our only opportunity to get one back on them all day. We'd done all the cleaning, we'd cleaned their boots, we'd picked up the fag beds, we'd done all the washing up. And then it was supposed to be a forfeit cooking this meal, and we had great fun with it. So enjoying it,
We put all the good meat into ours and put all the nasty meat into theirs. It's like, OK, we've done all your washing up, we're going to cook for you. You know, I hope you choke on it.
George is colluding with the blue team members here. And, of course, in the red team is his great friend, Catherine. So it's remarkable that he's going along with this.
I wanted one up on them, and now we had the chance to do it. And one of my friends got caught in the crossfire, if you like. But we were just all being egomaniacs at that point. It was like, right, our egos have been bruised, let's bruise theirs, but without telling them, and then tell them afterwards. But we didn't.
Imagine Michael getting that piece of meat on his
The blues now are feeling their kind of intrinsic power. That is, you know, it's really the power of friendship, the power of camaraderie.
So there's been this kind of reversal between the blues and the reds. The blues are now very much in winning position.
Shavin, they really don't like us. Have you seen the dinner? Oh no, come on, look, we're in Ken. Look at this, you don't like us. We're in Ken. What is this? It's just full of gristle. I cannot stand a gristle. I mean, look at that. Look at the size of that lump of that gristle. I physically cannot eat things with gristle on it. If I put gristle in it, it's like eating excuse the expression, it's like eating a spunky egg when it's not cooked properly. It's like snot.
The two teams eat separately tonight.
So that's a nice touch. Dave says cheers. And that act of toasting is, again, a nice act of bonding among them.
Sure. Quite in contrast to what's happening in the red dining room, where all the heads are bowed and nobody is
eating
chinking
in silence.
glasses.
I mean, it's remarkable. You would never know from this contrast that the Reds were dominant and the Blues were subordinate.
And it's not just because of their revolting food. While the B team dine like old friends, the A team's falling apart. Michael's left the table to be on his own, and everyone else has left because Sharon and Caroline are quarrelling.
But I didn't say anything about lagging to it.
No, I said no. You said to you, I suppose you're going to lag now. And he turned around and said, what's lagging?
Unlike the Bs, the A team's rapidly disintegrating.
It's as though they've let themselves down in some ways.
Yeah, we often say absolute power corrupts absolutely. So I think Carolyn's, kind of irrational dominance has really worked to split up the group. And that they're not happy being the Reds.
No.
I'm not sure they'd want to be Blues, but it's certainly not enjoying their power.
As it turned out in the end, I think the blue team ended up the better team because we just got on so well together. There was no bickering between us at all.
The blue team pulled together like a union does. So when the underdog's being put upon, they pull together rather than disbanding, much like a union does.
Nearly midnight, and some of the A team, Sharon and Michael, have become dejected and have gone to bed. But the 10 who are left will now regroup for a debriefing. 2 questions need answering. Which teams won the day, and which team will have to pay the forfeit of sleeping outside tonight?
And in fact, in all fairness to the blue team, they've achieved more because they've demoralised the red team.
Yes, I agree with that.
We've demoralised. How have we demoralised?
We've got 4 members.
That's got nothing to do with us.
How have we demoralised you when you have been management? We have been the ones that have done the washing up. When you first agreed to do the washing up, then when you got the management role, you decided no, the blue team will do the washing up. And also, we were segregated with rooms. We had the least comfortable rooms. We had to eat in the little room next to the kitchen.
The scullery, as I like to call it.
We had the scullery. We had to cook. And we also cleaned your boots yesterday, so we've demoralised
And picked up bag butts. So how the hell have we been demoralising you?
So, and there's 4 of you now, so you're in management and we're the workers, yeah? But yeah, we've demoralised you. I don't see how that works. So, Elaine, yourself, please.
Well, it
You
just shows what
completely
full management you've
dehumanised
done, and
us.
if you've been demoralised by
You guys had more arguments amongst yourselves.
Yeah, you...
The winners of the blue team.
I was delighted at how Richard's face dropped because he'd convinced himself he was going to win. That was what pleased me. I was so pleased. It was like, yes, we've got you. Do you know what I mean? And it wasn't that we'd won, necessarily. It was that they were so gutted.
Once you're up there and you get a feel for it, you don't mind staying there. It's hard to come down, and we had to camp out that night, and it was very hard to come down.
The A team has lost its spirit, lost 2 team members, lost the friendship of the other team, and lost the day's competition. Why?
I think it can be traced to Carolyn's really usurping of power in a very authoritarian, domineering way, and producing a lot of conflict in her fellows.
And I think their insistence on following rules really illustrates how blind obedience to authority can lead to the disintegration of groups and can provide us with justifications for engaging in all sorts of perhaps even antisocial behaviour.
5 foot minimum.
When I first met Caroline, she was quite quiet and she was a hairdresser. By lunchtime that day, she had an empire, and it wasn't just us, it was the north of England. It was just, she was hungry for power. It was quite frightening.
I think everybody has to obey and take orders from somebody, and there's people out there who have to give orders. Some people take orders better than others, and some people give orders better than others.
She was telling us how she would never make tea for her people that worked for her. And just the way she spoke about things, I know I wouldn't have been able to work for her.
I'd never expect to see that, you know, not necessarily aggression, but, you know, kind of like that strong-willed personality that she had towards the end. I would have never expected that from the first day or so.
I'd sooner be up there than down at the bottom, definitely. Sooner be up the top end of the scale than down at the bottom.
There was times when, you know, both myself and Tom actually said to her, look, you know, calm it down, don't get too excited about this, because they're going to take us to a complete and utter high, and then they're going to drop us. And I was sort of like expecting that. I was ready for that. I don't think Caroline was ready for that, to be honest with you.
I like power. I do like power, you know, and we was powerful. The red team were powerful. And if I was being honest, yes, I still like to be on the red team, and I'd do it all again. I'd be on the red team all again. Yeah, it was good.
But in Caroline's hands, the gift of power to the A team proved too much for them to handle, although she has no regrets.
Good luck. The blue team did really, really well today. But if we're on teams tomorrow, they've no chance. Absolutely no chance.
Tomorrow we're going to kick their ass.
We're going to kick it. Good style.
And we're going to be really ruthless.
Really ruthless.
Yeah. Because they really rocked it in today, didn't they?
And we've got a strong team now. We've actually got a strong team. We've got 4 very strong members who are not prepared to lose any more.
We're going to win tomorrow.
And it was a very close margin, I'll have you all know.
This might be a little setback.
A very tiny little setback.
We might have lost the battle, but we haven't lost the war. 12 years.
The A team settled down to endure the freezing November night outside, apparently still competitive, still power-hungry, still blissfully unaware of what this human zoo is all about, or what this contrived situation has led them to. And that, in the end, is really the point of this programme. That the power of the situation is greater than you think. That what you say you'd do is often a far cry from what you'd actually do. That you'd be surprised at what you're capable of.
I now pronounce you man and wife.
Help me. Help me, son. Please help me.